No Pity by Morton Goldsmith. Back in the 1950s, when my mom was a child, a very popular TV show grabbed the attention of millions of middle-class housewives.
Queen for a day. The Cinderella Show.
Middle-class housewives competed against one another in their quest to convey the most heart-wrenching tale of their domestic woe and answer the question,
"Would you like to be queen for a day?"
Each of the contestants related her tale of affliction, despair, and misery.
Well, what would you like?
Well, I would like diaper service.
Are any of the other kids still in diapers?
Well, my 2-year-old isn't completely trained.
The spinning needle on an audience meter indicated which of the contestants had conveyed the most pitiable tale of middle-class misfortune. There were tales of unemployed husbands, disabled mothers-in-law, and unruly children. The winner was bedecked in a fur-trimmed robe, crowned with a tiara, presented with a bouquet of roses, and awarded lucrative prizes. And more prizes. And more prizes. Any humiliation the contestants experienced by arousing such public pity was richly rewarded. 50 years later, middle-class housewives recreated the Queen for a Day motif. For the internet-based video, Autism Every Day, mothers told woeful tales about parenting their autistic children.
I so hope I won't be changing diapers when he's 6.5.
And the parents who were going out for bagels together and are like, "Oh, do you want to come for a bagel?" And I think, yes, in another life, I'd love to come for a bagel.
There are parents who are forced to put kids in schools that are completely overcrowded and 12 kids and 1 teacher, and the kids don't make progress. But I remember that was a very scary moment for me when I realized I had sat in the car for about 15 minutes and actually contemplated putting Jody in the car and driving off the George Washington Bridge, and that would be preferable to having to put her in one of these schools.
The prizes for this modern rendition of Queen for a Day are increased fundraising for the high-profile autism charity, Autism Speaks. For centuries, people like me, people with disabilities, were viewed through the lens of pity. It is even believed that the term handicapped derives from the expression hand in cap, which is an idiom connoting begging for money or help in a way which makes the person feel shame. Early 20th century charities also aimed to evoke guilt as well as pity, as in this 1930s postcard and these 1950s postal stamps. To solicit donations in the 1970s, disability charities placed photos of disabled children on advertising posters. The charity's goal was to evoke pity, and in so doing, disabled people became pitiable. And pitiful. As scholars of disability studies subsequently noted, throughout history, business and industry have always promoted their services and products in the most glowing of ways, aiming to create very positive feelings of happiness, pride, and prosperity.
Live life, every golden minute of it. Enjoy Budweiser.
But disability fundraising assumed that the best way to get people to part with their money was to play upon their feelings of guilt and pity. Therefore, following other civil rights movements of the 1960s and 70s, the disability rights movement evolved in the 1980s and 90s and began to confront the denigrating actions of disability charities.
Members of the group Accessibility Associates converged with the Chicago headquarters of the telethon to send a message that they think Jerry Lewis paints the wrong picture of those who suffer from muscular dystrophy.
You may be tempted to think of disabled people as hopeless, helpless, and only worthwhile if we can be cured.
People in the system who had come out of the civil rights movement and channeled that same energy into the last spoken for minority in the United States. We challenge the inhumanity of it. And unfortunately, the first wave of response to that was resistance.
The nation's blind take their rightful place in society.
Deaf people are entitled to dignity and respect.
A pinnacle of disability rights occurred on July 26, 1990, with the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
And today we're here to rejoice in and celebrate another Independence Day, one that is long overdue.
Seated beside President Bush that historical day was Ellen Kemp Jr., who chaired the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Several years earlier, in 1981, Kemp published a poignant op-ed in the New York Times in which he eloquently criticized disability charities for their use of pity-based tactics for fundraising. As Kemp wrote, playing to pity may raise money, but it also raises walls of fear between the public and individuals with disabilities. No one's desire for a cure can ever justify reinforcing a stigma against disabled people. In 1993, award-winning journalist Joseph Shapiro documented the civil rights movement that had been forged by people with disabilities and the insulting nature of previous charity-based fundraising. Therefore, fundraising for most every disability around the world has moved away from pity-based promotion and moved forward to empowering campaigns that solicit respect and support. The British Spastic Society previously raised funds by playing off of the public's fear and guilt. But now, renamed as Scope, the organization fervently campaigns for disabled people's equality. Similarly, the British charity ManCap, which previously promoted guilt-inducing and pity-arousing representations, now features on its website numerous videos of individuals with cognitive and intellectual disabilities attaining higher education, working at a variety of jobs, and getting married, as well as parents who embrace their children's disabilities without shame, self-pity, or resentment. A similarly respectful website is posted by the Canadian Down Syndrome Society, whose vision encourages a proud Canada, where everyone's genes are valued equally. The Gillette Children's Hospital self-describes as serving persons with conditions for which there are no cures. Their recent fundraising campaign sought to cure what they diagnose as one of the most insidious of human conditions: pity. Unfortunately, fundraising for My Disability, Autism, persists in using disrespectful, pity-based tactics. A prominent example is the US-based organization, Autism Speaks, and its 2007 internet video, Autism Every Day. Similarly, as recently as 2005, the Autism Society of America launched a fundraising campaign, self-identified as a jarring new initiative, aimed at, quote, getting the word out, unquote, about autism. Visitors to its website were met with a foreboding homepage that threatened it can tear a family apart. The website further warned that, quote, even more devastating is one day, a child living with autism will grow up to be an adult living with autism. Similarly, as recently as 2005, the Mind Institute at UC Davis launched a fundraising campaign promoting what they termed the cold hard facts about autism. They described children like me as always with you, and, oddly enough, never really there. They claimed, you can't die from autism. You can't really live with it either. The fundraising poster was further captioned with a statement reminiscent of Queen for a Day. Personal time, privacy, disposable income. Having a child means sacrificing a few things. But having an autistic child means sacrificing everything. These pity-based representations of autism by U.S. charities not only contrast with the more respectful fundraising techniques currently used for other disabilities, but they also contrast with the more respectful fundraising techniques used by autism charities outside the United States. For example, this internet video from the Belgian Autism Society.
Some people strive all their lives to be something special. We are born this way.
Autistic self-advocates like me have begun speaking out, just as our predecessors in disability rights spoke out over 20 years ago. So, in response to advertisements which deemed the odds of a child being diagnosed as autistic as worse than the odds of a child being struck by lightning, worse than the odds of a child being involved in an automobile accident, and worse than the odds of a babysitter encountering an emergency that requires dialing 911, 3 of my friends created their own public service announcement. And, in response to Autism Speaks internet video,
I had sat in the car for about 15 minutes and actually contemplated putting Jody in the car and driving off the George Washington Bridge.
we autistic self-advocates and our allies posted an internet petition signed by thousands of supporters, in which we stated we utterly repudiate the notion of murder being an acceptable response to disability. We testify that the false reality concocted by Autism Speaks is not a true reflection of the reality of parenting an autistic child. Our voices are beginning to be heard. In early 2008, the New York University Child Study Center planned a campaign in which they intended to fill hundreds of billboards, kiosks, and magazine pages with fabricated ransom notes, such as, "We have your son. We will make sure he will not be able to care for himself or interact socially as long as he lives. Signed, Autism. P.S. This is only the beginning." In response to our outrage, the campaign was halted. One highly successful component of the protest was an online petition. The second signatory on the petition was my mom.
Say it's only a paper moon sailing over a cardboard sea, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Yes, it's only a canvas sky hanging over a muslin tree, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Without your love, it's a honky-tonk parade. Without your love, it's a melody played in a penny arcade. It's a Barnum and Bailey world, just as phony as it can be. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believe.